Hey, Trinity here from Esoteria. A little birdie told me that you've been having an issue with someone who broke up with you. So I'm going to give you a little bit of motivation, maybe a little bit of calling out, but I'll try and do it in a gentle way because I know you're hurting right now. So one thing that we as empaths, and I know a lot of us in recovery, kind of seem to attract are really selfish and self-centered people. That's a huge reason why I tend not to date in the rooms, unless they, have clearly shown me actions. And let's just say I have yet to see one that's unmarried that is willing to take the actions. Usually the ones who are the good ones are already married and they have spouses. And this goes for women too. Men or women can be just like this, but they kind of act a little narky. So here is the mentality that I'm going to need you to take for yourself. We're going to learn on ourselves or love on ourselves. We're going to learn about ourselves. We are going to choose ourselves. Okay? We are not going to go back and play that toggle game where it's back and forth and back and forth, okay? You are not gluten intolerant. You do not deserve breadcrumbs. You deserve the whole mother-loving loaf. So I'm going to need you to act like it, okay? Now, let me go ahead and I'm going to pull some cards just to see if Spirit has anything maybe a little nicer to say. And I know it's really hard in the beginning, especially if you're kind of codependent. You might want to join CODA, which is a 12-step program for codependence. But that's up to you. But working on yourself is really, it's worthwhile because you know what? You're the only person who is with you from the day you're born to the day you die. You're the only person that you are going to be guaranteed to sleep with every single night of your life. You're the only person who has to look themselves in the mirror. And the last thing I want is for someone to get into early recovery and then get heartbroken because some dummy decided that they were going to be using you just like they were using drugs and alcohol. And don't get me wrong, there are people out there who will walk, talk, and act like they run a good program. They will sponsor people, but then they turn around and they use human beings just like they would as a substance. Because guess what? You're their new drug of choice. You're their new supply. Okay? Don't let that be you anymore. If this is resonating, don't let that be you anymore. Choose yourself. Choose yourself. Okay? All right, Spirit, do we have any messages for my absolutely beautiful, lovely, sovereign collective who are working on themselves and tired of the fuckery? Because let's face it, it's just BS what they put us through sometimes. I am not gonna lie. When I was first told by my higher power I needed to go celibate, I was kind of sad about it because I enjoy a romp in the hay. But it was the best decision I ever made. And it's been a couple of years now, and I get to make my own choices. I get to be my own confidant. I get to have time to focus on the friends who truly value me for exactly where I'm at and cheerlead me when I grow. I get to make my own house rules. I get to go to bed when I want. I get to wake up when I want. I get to take a shower when I want and not have to worry about the hot water running out. I get to make the meals that I want to eat. I don't have to compromise on anything. And you know what? It's lovely. So my peace at this point, and it took me a while to get here emotionally, but my peace at this point is what people would be competing with. So if a man is going to come in, he really shouldn't be looking jealous at other men. He should be jealous and worried about competing with my peace. Because if you're not going to add peace and serenity into my life, I don't need you here. Okay. 7 of Cups. There are more fish in the sea, baby. Justice, it did come out in the reverse. Let's see what the other cards have to say before I decide whether I'm going to read it reversed or not. the Hanged Man. And this is the Blossoms of Serenity Tarot, by the way. 10 of Coins. And finally, the Page of Wands. Okay. You may be really stung right now by what just happened to you. However, here is the recommendation and the reason why the Justice card came out into the reverse. To turn that upright, you're going to have to take the attitude of, I thank you for hurting me. I bless my past because it forced me into a situation where I had to choose myself, and learn how to cope, learn how to do the shadow work necessary, and just completely fall in love with myself all over again. And I know I wouldn't have been able to do that had I not been completely heartbroken and devastated a couple of years ago. I had dated a guy for not long, but he had introduced me to his parents and his kid and all of this jazz and promised me vacations and all of this stuff. And I was a very naive woman, apparently. And I was hearing words and seeing actions and thinking he meant it. And then one day he just called me and told me our paths are going down different directions and I still want to be friends. And my intuition told me he's trying to leave that door open in case he has a lonely night and he's horny. And he knew how much I liked him. He knew that I was falling for him. And I wasn't going to allow myself to be used like that again. Now, in hindsight, he said some stuff to me that really gave me some red flags that I should have been paying attention to. So really pay attention to the words they say, especially when they're joking, because oftentimes that's their mask slipping. I remember there was one time he was buying me some things and I asked him, is this going to be too much money? And he said, oh, as long as it locks you down for sex, I don't care. And I should have freaking listened to him because I hadn't gotten physically intimate with him at that point. And that he was telling me the dead honest answer, that that's all he was after. You have to listen to them when they speak to you. You have to. Okay. So anyway, to turn this Justice card in the upright, thank them. So I actually thank him for forcing me into a situation where I had to choose myself because I am a better woman today for it. And I've learned a lot of discernment. I've learned more about myself. And you will too. You will too. I promise you. And I am not trying to make this the me show. I'm just telling you, you're not alone in this. There are millions of women over the past eons of humanity where, and men too, men get heartbroken too. So, just know that you're not alone in this. And quite frankly, if you were led to this reading and this is really resonating hard, know that the universe saw everything. They heard all of your crying. They saw every single tear shed. And, it's going to take some time to work through it. It's going to take a massive psychic change in order to get to the point where you can fully forgive. But don't beat yourself up if you're ruminating on it. This is something where a lesson is trying to be taught to you. And unfortunately had to be this way because you weren't listening in another way. And that's the tough love part of it. But the entire point is to get you to see everything from a different perspective. Okay? It's to teach you your own self-worth. It is to teach you that you are worth so much more than what lies between your legs. Okay? So, and if you think about it, baby, you're a king or a queen because I have both genders who come on this channel and watch me. And kings and queens don't put out that, well, maybe kings do. Maybe queens do too. I don't know. But in the modern day age, we're going to just say that kings and queens respect themselves internally on the inside. We are going to be looking to God to be a committed partnership and not to another human being at this point. Okay. However, if you can do that, baby, the world is yours. The world is absolutely yours. You're going to have the time, energy, and focus to be able to really hammer down, hunker down, commit to building a legacy for yourself and the generations that follow you, okay? You can do this. You can do this. It's tough, but you can do it. The Page of Wands. I just heard, leave that MRFer in the dust. I kind of like that. Leave them in the dust. Okay. Plus, you know what? They probably are making you the victim. Don't be afraid to be the victim, or making you to be the villain. Don't be afraid to be the villain. But I would say, even though you were the victim in this, because clearly the word victim was coming out, try not to identify in that archetype. We don't walk around as victims anymore. We walk around as flawed individuals who have things to work on. We may have been victimized, but we're no longer victims. We will eventually get to the point where we're not afraid to be the bad guy. And you know what? That is just life. You're going to be the villain in somebody's story so that they can sit there and be the victim themselves and cry to other people about how you did this and you did that and you said this and you said that. And I'm not saying that you did or didn't, but the person who decides to stay single, the person who decides to work on themselves and decides to turn themselves over to a higher power in times like this are the winners, period. That's just what happens. You may lose a few people out of this. That's okay. They're not your people. Okay? I'll be your person. Come on over, baby. All right. Page of Wands. I want to get some clarification on Page of Wands. Oh, you're learning how to have conscious contact with your higher power. Good for you. All right. This is actually a great opportunity for you to do that. And it starts by just sitting down and getting vulnerable with God, behind closed doors. You know, you don't have to get on your knees. I don't pray on my knees. But you know, don't pray evil things upon the other person. Pray for your own healing, pray for theirs too, and eventually things will turn out just fine, baby. All right, I am going to pull an archetype card from the Kim Kranz collection. I need to desperately clean up this table. This is like my all-purpose table right now. All right, so we got two of them. The Crone. What's coming to my mind is the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You're literally asking for crone wisdom, or sage wisdom if you're a man. Okay? This is making you more wise than you were before, and that is the biggest blessing of them all. And the next one, the village. It takes a village. Find your people, find your friends, cry it out on their shoulder. They're the ones who are going to be there when you're having a tough time. If they are like, ugh, you know, you're supposed to be positive. That's toxic positivity. I don't like that. So, you know, just because we're light workers and healers doesn't mean that we don't hurt. It doesn't mean that we can't get heartbroken or depressed or anxious. And all of those feelings are valid. So your people, like, and quite frankly, get to a meeting, especially if you're in early recovery for substances. Situations like this can trigger us to the point where we make really bad choices for ourselves. So get 10 toes down into your program, okay? If no one's told you today, I really need you to know that I love you. You can get through this. Take care.